Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Scyushi and I have my baby strapped to my chest because he refuses to sleep. He's staring up at me right now. So it's been a couple days since we had a Nintendo Switch related video because there hasn't really been anything worth updating. I've seen the leak channels and other news channels putting out like their 8 to 20 minute videos talking about absolutely nothing. But I pride myself on the fact that I only make videos when it's actually relevant. Suffice to say, the tariffs ended up affecting the pre-order date for the United States and ultimately affected me here in Canada. I thought it was pretty funny. I got a bunch of negative comments on my last video complaining about that, basically it was ignorant Americans trying to say that it was Canada's fault for the tariff stuff. While we don't have like a direct answer of like why exactly it got delayed here in Canada, the only thing that I and many other Canadians can fathom is that the shipments for the Switch were going to go through the United States and thus it would end up affecting us with the same tariffs. So people were thinking whether or not Nintendo was going to set up a separate Canadian trade route. Unfortunately, Canada just gets clumped into the North American ball as far as Japan is concerned. But regardless of all of that stuff, because I don't want to get into too much of it, there is a new post over on Bloomberg that is very relevant to both Americans and Canadians. I will say that there is no current date for when the pre-orders will start again. There was an IGN post earlier today that was saying Nintendo was going to put their pre-orders out on their website like May 8th or something like that. It's not news. And thankfully their comment section destroyed them. So now they actually have like a little notification at the start of the post saying none of this is new information. But then they still have the post because, you know, clickbait journalist crap. But anyway, I'll put a link in the description to the Bloomberg post if you guys want to see it. Thankfully, AI can summarize the entire article so I can explain it in a way that makes sense to you guys. So first of all, there was a 90-day reprieve on the tariffs, which does give Nintendo time to prepare for a June launch. That is irrelevant to Nintendo. It's just America as a whole has put on a 90-day like wait period for it. This does also mean that the Switch price shouldn't be increased for you guys in America so long as they end up shipping out before the tariffs take place. But more importantly, I didn't really know 100% how the tariffs ended up working or anything like that because I'm Canadian, so I didn't bother doing any research. I'll admit that I still haven't done any research because I don't care about American politics, but I didn't know that it only basically affected like China and a couple other select countries. In my limited understanding, basically when something ships to the United States, China gets a huge tax for that. And China ended up responding in kind by making a huge tax for their own tariffs, which is why you're seeing a lot of car companies like firing a crap ton of their employees and stuff because so much content of the world is produced out of China, including the Nintendo Switch. But Nintendo is allocating almost their entire made in Vietnam consoles to the US in order to avoid the tariff altogether because Vietnam isn't being hit with that tariff tax. Again, I won't go into too much detail about the article, but frankly speaking, I think that it's actually really smart for Nintendo to do this. In short, it essentially means that the Switches you guys are going to be getting in the States are technically not Chinese. Now, is there any other news worth talking about? Well, I mean, I guess next Thursday there's going to end up being the Mario Kart Direct. And somebody on one of my streams had a good point that maybe that's when the pre-orders will start again, but I doubt it. The fact still remains that pre-orders already went through and are completely sold out in the UK, but we don't have any information at all in regards to North America. I do hope that the pre-orders start again sometime soon, or at the very least we hear some news about it. I mean, thankfully they keep reassuring us that the June release date is unchanged. It's just that the pre-orders got delayed. But I still think it's so weird because why delay the pre-order if the console's still going to ship out at the same time? In fact, it means that the console itself is going to suddenly become something very scarce for the casual consumer because now they'll be like, I can't have it. Screw you, I want it. Another interesting point people were making for the Canadian pre-order delay was that scalpers and greedy Americans would come to Canada specifically to steal our stock, which I would not be surprised if that's one of the main reasons it got delayed. So if there's any scalpers watching, I hope I got nothing to say. I will say that I would appreciate you guys leaving a like. You can subscribe for more, but again, I'll only put out videos like this when there's actually something worth talking about. I'm not the type of person to take a 9-second video of Silk Song and make a 30-minute video out of it that makes 250K views. I wish I was that good at wasting your time.